Gotta elevate through the challenges. Might bend, but baby, you won't break. It's okay to make all your mistakes.
Welcome to another episode of Dare to Evolve, a sanctuary for genuine conversations and heartfelt dialogue. I am your host, Valerie Damazo, and I am honored to share this platform today with my guest that is none other than
Dale Moss. I got a little excited about that, but I'm excited to be on the podcast. So Dale Moss, former NFL athlete, entertainment personality, filmmaker, working on sports documentaries, and truly wellness and mental health is a foundational piece of my life. So advocating for that very, very heavily, throughout every day of my life.
You can see why I was so grateful when he accepted to be on this podcast. So, as you know, I've started this about since the month of June, and it's really a platform that creates awareness and makes everyone to understand that, when they see you or they see myself or they see others, you just see an end story. But there's a reality to everything that we're doing. So I want to say a big thank you for actually accepting this invitation. You said that you were an NFL player.
Yep.
You were. I know in the industry, in the whole sports, I had never reached on an international or professional level, should I say. But I played volleyball for quite some years. And just the load of being a captain of the volleyball team, actually traveling and representing your country, that has been a load. But the practicing, the struggle with trying to be at the top or be the best player, because then, again, like I said, I was the captain of the national team. Explain us more about your time as being as an NFL player.
Yeah, sports for me was everything. Growing up, my mom played on a U.S. national basketball team that traveled the globe. And we grew up in a very segregated area, only black family. In our town, I was the only black kid in my school until I was a sophomore in high school. But sports was a release for me, and it also broke down so many barriers for myself, for my family, and opened up so many doors. And I think it just was a safe space for me. I love to work hard. I love to have a team atmosphere. And, as a Division I college basketball and football player, I eventually got a shot to play at the professional level, which for me at the time was, the biggest accomplishment in my life. But yeah, it's just the discipline, the community, the teamwork, and it's a family setup, and that's been the strongest and most foundational thing for me in my life is my family and building environments like that.
You said that your mom was a basketball player. So I was like, my next question would not be too good. Because most of the time we see here that when you have children that are not doing well in school, the first thing parents want to do is remove them from sports.
Yeah.
I have always, that's only my belief, you can second that or not. I always believe that that's an error. I believe that sport teaches you discipline, a proper balance, and of course, this sense of stability, this sense of integration. And I never got why parents, the first time they want to they want to punish their child, is like, let me take you away from sports. You're not going to sports anymore. How do you feel about that?
I agree with you fully. And I know for me, in high school and elementary, I was playing baseball, I was playing basketball, I was playing football, I was running track. I was still a great student. Once I got in high school, I was working. I had a job. And for me, those things gave me structure, but it also taught me how to prioritize. And I think it's integrity as well, because when you have other people relying on you, it forces you to be about your word. And also it forces you to go through tough times and situations. And those are the things that I think as a parent, when you can give up a little control and trust that your children are going to make the right decisions or try new things and sometimes be in an uncomfortable situation, it helps them figure it out. And I've seen so many times, like in my school where I grew up, in South Dakota, small town Midwest, which is so random, but we had a lot of suicide. Each and every year, there was someone had killed themselves, taken their lives. And there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, but I truly believe that a big portion of that from my point of view is that a lot of kids just didn't have either the resources or the experience in handling some of these overwhelming situations. And, I would like to say it's gotten better, but we hear about it nowadays, like suicide, depression, mental health. It's kind of a buzzword, but it is on the rise. I've gone through it, and I've had every resource imaginable or tried to create strong environments, but it can happen to anyone. So,
it's a good thing that you said that, because I had a conversation the other day, and I said, I'm just drained. I just feel as if I'm turning in circle. I feel like I take 10 steps forward and I take 15 back. I'm out here doing the best that I can. I respect my calling. I accept my calling, but why does it feel so heavy at times? And, when you said it just now, I just had many flashbacks, because you want to believe that even the strongest of the strongest would not have that breaking point. And I creating this platform, it is something that I said I needed them to know, because we all have that moment of, I said depression have no face. Depression have no face. Depression have, you say, what a chef looks like, what a artist look like. And people try to put a face behind what depressions look like and be like, oh, she can't be depressed because she's smiling, she's getting, and I just really want people to know that it's real. And it's sometimes hitting harder than most of us imagine. And some people just use it as a front. Yep. Some people just use it as a front. But how did you manage all of that? And I'm just going to back it back up to the school part as well, because you said being in school, okay, your mom understand already the part of being an athlete. So she knew. I take my 12-year-old, I had her doing swimming, dancing, volleyball, the whole 9 yards. But my reason for that, number one, is that you're not going to be lazy.
Yep.
You're going to try everything.
You got to work. You got to work.
You're going to try everything out. And I believe that those parts of your life would actually help you become who you're going to be, whichever part is that. And also one of them is to say at the end of the day, if you're not dancing and you're not a gymnast before the age of 12, you're not going to be a gymnast again.
Yeah.
So those are stuff that we look at. Would you say that touching those various sports was actually your chance to see where you fit in or what fits you best?
Yeah, without a doubt. It gave me an opportunity to experience different things. And, when I'd start off on something, I wasn't always the greatest. And my parents would tell me, hey, see it through, don't quit, just give your best effort. And it also taught me how to be a servant leader and sometimes take the low road rather than always having to be front and center for my teammates. And it taught me humility. I think a lot of times, if we feel like we make a mistake or, we make an error or people judge us or laugh, or it's a form of shame and guilt that we hold on to. And a lot of people never get past that. The best thing that sports taught me, and I over and over and over and over again, was failure and how to get past failure and how to learn from failure. Yeah. And that was so valuable for me. And at the end of the day, too, I found out what I loved. Yeah. And when you can find that gives you direction.
I think what becomes difficult is where you have that peer pressure. Peer pressure of being someone that some other sees you at. Peer pressure of trying to be the best when you don't need to be the best, especially in the team sports, yep. Playing sports. It's not an individual game. You definitely have others to lean on. But trying to be the best of the best, and that peer pressure actually brings you at a time of many challenges. Being a captain of my just actual team, and then the selection, I used to show up at practices, sometimes be like, what's up with you? I was like, I just want to be a player. Like, but you are a player. I said, no, you guys are still trying to figure out what a captain has to say. I have nothing to say. I just want to play ball, So that's time where that pressure comes in. And at a given time, it's like, how do you find that balance?
I think we're always trying to find that balance, but I do believe that when things matter and we really care and we put our heart and soul on it into things, there's sometimes we're looking for validation, but we're not going to find that in the outside world. And also because we want to be as efficient as possible, as successful as possible, or a great leader, we're looking for this pathway or some reassurance on how we should be or how we should act. But the reality is it's so unique to you that there is no right or wrong way. And I think we have to give ourselves grace at times because we're not perfect as much as we want to be. And, you know, I always say this, and I've learned this in sports and I've learned this in relationships. I have a high capacity for pain, for loss and all these things. And I realized that when I'd compare that to everybody else, and sometimes it would throw me off and make me put me in my head, or I'd just assume everyone was thinking the same exact way.
Yeah.
But I will also say too, like, you're going to have to make sacrifices. The harder you go on things and the higher you climb, it's going to be a little bit lonelier. You know, the air is going to be a little bit thinner. So there might be a little bit more stress, but you know, I do believe there's always another level, and just as long as you don't give up, like, you're going to find your way.
You see, when you said just now you have a high capacity of managing pain and the whole 9 yards, sometimes I say, because I would say sometimes that some people use a front, and you'd be like, you know, I'm okay, but then you're not okay.
Yeah.
But in order for you to avoid, because you also, I talk a lot about balance because it's essential. I will not walk into a room, I will not put myself in a situation where I have to mentally, emotionally struggle with why I'm walking into that room. So I prefer to remove myself from an equation. It's not because I'm shrinking my light. It's not because I'm minimizing who I am. But, you know, I choose peace. I give in time, and I think everyone that knows me now, they're wondering what kind of roller coaster she on right now. Because ever since I celebrated my 40th birthday last year, I have been on a journey of just finding peace. You know, I want to be content. I want to just find peace, but I don't want to sugarcoat it either. I don't want to say that, you know what, I'm here when I'm not here. I needed to understand that I'm also human. Today I'm not doing well, but I will remove myself from the equation. When I say that, I'll give an example. Position I'm in, or the business person that I am, or else the open person that I am, I'm constantly in an area where you're networking with people.
You're always on.
Exactly. I'm not going to come to an event where Dale has to be, are you okay? You sure? You don't look, no. If today is not the day, I need you to understand it's okay to remove yourself from that equation. Do you get that feeling or that pressure at times to be like, I need to be Dale today, and I need to be the A person everyone is looking at. And if I remove myself from the equation, then everyone will wonder more. Like you put others before you.
Yeah, I can relate to that so clearly. And I've had to learn, and I'm still learning, you know, just what you talked about. I have to be on. There's a lot of things that I'm currently doing in my life, and I can't really delegate them because I'm in front of the camera. I'm working with the production team and creative directing. I'm traveling all over the globe, and I'm building business. But at the same time, I understand, and I've accepted the responsibility, you know, towards my family, my relationships, and you know, trying to find that balance of time because it's so limited. And I always say this, and I would say, for me, this is probably the truest thing I can say that has helped me, is creating the best space in the environment possible so you can have peace, and also removing yourselves from environments that don't serve you, even if it's for a short stint, and being able to recognize that and accept that, hey, it's okay. There's a lot of days, you know, I don't have it. And when it hits me really, really hard. And probably the biggest frustration with that is because I know my level, and I know when I'm resonating at a high level. And if I'm not at that, I'm like, it's not acceptable. There's another gear. But I've truly learned, especially this year, I would say this last year was the hardest year of my life. So many amazing things that had happened. So much loss with family, relationships, some things in business. But at this stage, I feel the most complete and the most grounded and the most excited that I have in years and years and years. Even knowing that back in January, I've never suffered from depression, but I went through a depression, and it scared the hell out of me. But it's amazing to see from then and going through that dark moment, and feeling like I could barely get out of bed, that I'm standing here right now.
But how do you know that you're actually, especially someone that is always on, how do you know that, hey, something is wrong.
Yeah.
I am actually going through depression right now. How do you know that?
For me, the biggest thing, my gift is I have a light. The way I impact people, the way I see the world, I am positive, I am curious, and I would like to say I want to make the right decision, but I'm not afraid of making the decisions. You know, sometimes I take a few too many risks, but I always have believed that whatever comes my way, like I'm good, I'm going to figure it out. But at the start of this year, it was just a perfect storm of some projects and things that I worked tirelessly on for the last few years, invested a lot in it, both time, financially. I had, I believe, 4 people within my family or very close friends die within 4-5 months, or things that triggered me. And there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in my relationship, which was strong on surface, but I was just absorbing so much from other parties, and I just couldn't escape it. And that was also part of me just wanting to be there and support and fix things we can't fix. Yeah. But I remember it was after New Year's Eve in January, and I called my sister and my dad, and I was like, hey, like, I'm having trouble getting out of bed each day. Like, it's a struggle. And I'm like, I don't even care. Like, all this, I'm just numb. And I'm still going through the days, and I'm still operating at a high level on the surface. But inside, I was just so drained. I was so hollow. I felt like all the people in my circle, for whatever reason at the time, were just taking a lot of energy and light. And a lot of trust that I had in people was betrayed. And like I said, I think it was a perfect storm. Yeah. But I know right now, had I made a couple changes in my environment or put myself first and said, hey, I need this space, I need a break, I don't think I would have gotten into the situation I did. And that, this was 3, almost 4 months till I really started feeling myself. And sometimes that's also letting go of the things that you think you want most in life because they don't serve you.
Something I've learned, and I'm still learning because too often we actually try to put a temporary situation or persons in a permanent seat. Yeah. In a permanent place in our life. Whether it may be a job, it may be a partner, it may be something, and the reason for that is that, like you say, we always we're on the go, right? And you want to believe that you've got it right this time. Again, a great deal, a great job, a great relationship or something, I got it right, because you want that stability, you want that balance, and then you get so caught up on the fact that this is something I want to make permanent, but it's not permanent. It's not. And then it catches you off guard, and then it sends you on a whole roller coaster. But a couple months down, sometimes we say, like you said just now, you know what, if you made those decisions then. But I also believe that those were necessary so that you can realize as well, or any one of us can realize that that person actually, or that business or that deal that fell short, that was on hype for the last 3 months, that kept you up all night, was actually a work in progress, but it was a temporary situation for a greater setup, a greater comeback and all of that. And why I say that, I remember, and every time I try to talk about that, it is just with a heavy, heavy heart. I had a trainee. I worked as the accountant for years in an aluminum business. And this young lady came in my life like a hurricane, just a trainee. She came in, she was here, she worked, and she was like, you don't live enough, and her companion at that time was working at the aluminum company with me. And for the 2 months that she worked there with me, it was like, you need to take a break. You need to love life. You need to understand time is something you can't get back. You need this. You need a vacation. She's like, I'm headed down Santo Domingo. We're going on a vacation and so forth. And that person brought such light and joy into my life and saw it differently. Here I am working, I'll say over her, training her and so forth. And this young person came in and do that. Just for a week afterwards, she and her companion passed away in a motorbike accident. Oh, I was like, God, can you just explain me what was this all about? Why this? Why? And there were so many questions and so many unanswered questions that's still there. And, you know, and months after, it was like, what did you take from that relationship?
Yeah.
Now, you can't let that go in vain. But I had a hard time dealing with that. I was like, a bright future, a young person, so open, so motivated, so humble, so, you know, and then you make me grow this compassion or this love for this person, and in a blink of an eye, in a week time, this happened. It's like, what's next?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you can relate to that. I don't know if it even resonates in a story of yours.
I feel like in the darkest moments are where the biggest lessons are learned, and they're the hardest to see sometimes. But you know, when I lost my mom in 2017 unexpectedly, and you know, it rocked my world. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. But I will say, I accepted, and I also understood that I was so grateful for the time that I had with her during that time. And that's, a lot of people would see me and say, oh, like, I thought you'd be more sad. Or I was like, I had love from an amazing woman for, you know, 29 years of my life. And the fact that I got that was a gift. And, you know, this year, I mean, even after my NFL career was done, I went through the downward spiral that many athletes go through. And it wasn't because I was making stupid decisions, but my career was cut short. Everything I'd ever worked for stopped in an instant. My identity was as a professional wide receiver in the NFL. And when that was taken away, I really didn't know. I didn't have a clear sense of direction. And it scared the hell out of me. But, you know, I wound up in New York. I started planting some seeds, and I just took a risk to go out there. I signed with an agency, which miraculously ended up being one of the top talent agencies in the world. I was traveling the globe as a sports and fitness model and also hosting. But at the beginning, when I first went to New York, I didn't know anyone. I was down to little or nothing financially, money-wise. Wow. And I was there, and I remember I went in the first week, and I met like with GQ, and I booked something with them, and then I booked a Nike campaign like 2 days later, and then I booked something else. And my agent is like, hey, you really need to stay here. I think you can create a whole new life. And so I'm going to a Nike global like shoot. But at night I'm riding the subway to the JFK airport because I don't want to spend money on a hotel room, going to TSA, sleeping in TSA for 5 hours, going to the hotel where we meet everybody at 6 a.m., shooting all day, and going right back. And I remember doing that for 3 days. And there's like this diner in JFK airport. And it's partially why I don't eat pancakes anymore, because that's all I was eating for 3 days when I wasn't on set. But I remember saying, you know, I got a chance here, and this situation could break me or it could make me. And I never wanted to be in a position where these external factors completely took away my spirit. And I truly just like bottled it up. And I said, this is a test. This is going to open up a life for me that I never could have imagined. And since then, like my life in New York City at the start, I experienced more than I ever could have imagined. More than I experienced in football. You know, financially, it put me in a better position than, you know, my time in the NFL over a period of time. And now it's got me sitting here with you in St. Martin doing some of the most amazing things I've ever dreamed of.
Yeah. You know what's important, and I believe that many of those that are looking at us, they miss that part. When you say for 3 days, 3 nights, you had to make a choice. You choose, you know, I'm not going to spend all that money on, everyone knows New York. Everyone knows how expensive everything can get. You're not going to stay there. You're going to ride it back. You're going to do the back and forths. And hey, at 6 a.m., you're downstairs with everyone, shining like you slept also in a big air-conditioned condo or something. And but here in St. Martin, we say, you know, we're going to fake it until we make it, till we make it. But actually hearing that part, because many of us would have given up already and be like, oh, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to sleep in the subway. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. But would it be because of your mental state, you know, your positive mindset that you said, you know what, this is not the end result. This is a transition towards something greater. So I need to keep pushing.
I'd been through, just through life up to that point, so many challenges. We were very poor growing up. My mom worked tirelessly. My dad struggled with drug and alcohol addictions till the time I was 21, was in and out of prison. And I didn't know my mom's side of the family because of a biracial marriage. They told her to never come back home again. So I watched my mom never complain and just grind and handle it. My four sisters are beasts. But I remember sleeping in missions and stuff like that. But the story all the time was, don't worry, it gets better. Like, we're always here for you as a family. And I knew when I went to New York and was in that situation, and don't get me wrong, like, I had to grind for months to get back on my feet. Yeah. But I was like, this is where I want to be. And nothing's going to keep me from making a name and building respect for myself in this city. And I believe the saying, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Right. And I love how the city challenges you. I love the people and the communities that I meet that change my perspective on life. And a big thing too, I didn't want to go back home because I knew my life was meant for something else and I could impact more outside of it. And there's a reason I went to New York in the first place, because I believed in it. So it just kept me going. And, but I remember that time, like the athlete's mentality, maybe if you don't produce, or like it's an excuse, or you can find a way if it really matters enough.
You see, here with what you went through with the transition over to New York and all the challenges, and even with your dad and your mom passing away, have you felt that, I'd say, that mental health, that challenge you have, like you have at the beginning of the year, did it happen already, or this was the first time? Why I ask that question is because hearing you speak, there were so many other triggers. But because maybe the rush or the adrenaline, and you're always on the go and so forth, you never got a chance to sit and have it felt as it felt at the beginning of this year. So that's why I'm asking if there was a chance already where you was like, this is hard. I don't want to get about the bed either. The same challenge that you went through this beginning of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this year was definitely different than any stress or fear or sadness that I experienced. And the reason why, I think I was so curious and so optimistic, and I was building so much that I had to be a lot more selfish with my time. And I literally felt at that time like I had nothing to lose, right? I had to just figure out a way. And I've been very, very good at building and creating great environments, surrounding myself with the top people in the health and wellness space, and just going after it. But I had my challenges, but like a lot of them, but I'll go back to environments. At that time, I felt the environments I was in were a little bit better. And now I'm surrounded by people who have everything, or, one call away from someone. But I'm saying with my close circles, and I always had people feeding into me like life and rooting for me, and supporting me. And I realized like at the beginning of this year, however it happens, because I was focused on a dream, or my ego wanted to make this thing happen at all costs, without compromising my integrity, of course. I realized that when I brought my head up from like work and, even relationships, people weren't really there for me or in my corner. It was just convenient, or, there were conditions around everything. And that was tough. And I think for the first time, like really, this started this year, I was like, I was worried about if I'm going to fail. 'Cause I have so many things, on my plate, and, I've taken care of my family since the time I was in high school, supported them through the pandemic. And, it was just one of those things. I think for the first time this year, I was actually scared.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm nodding my head because you say so many things that are just like really anyone can relate to. And at the end of it all, it's like, where does say sincerity? Who are there really sincere people out there still? Who's still around for what it is? Now, I'm no NFL star. I'm not signing with Nike. I don't have that. But I mean, sometimes your life itself can get very, very heavy, and you have everyone that is around. And I think I had a chance to say that on one of my podcasts. I'd be like, people will constantly just call you.
Yeah.
And you say hello, and they, hi, how are you doing? But really, even some people will ask you like, okay, Valerie, how are you doing? But before you can even open your mouth to say, I am fine, I am not doing well, they ask you 5 questions already. So I'm like, at a given time where, there's no, you have a lot of acquaintances.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sincere people around you,
Yeah.
people that are truly there for you. That's why I nodded when you said, when you look around at the end of the day, something that was different back then. As much as you faced a lot of challenges back then, you have this sincere support group that is there, people that you can relate to. Now at a stage of your life where you practically have it better figured out, but then you don't have that sincere group of people around you, and that's actually challenging.
Yeah.
And imagine if some people are not strong-minded, how would we advise them to deal with that?
I mean, I think the first thing is taking a look at yourself. And I always try to look at, if I'm going through a tough situation, like, what can I do better? What do I have control of in this situation? I focused on self-care, my wellness, and everyone, when they hear like fitness and wellness, this doesn't mean you have to be like a bodybuilder or something. It's commitments to yourself so you feel good. And it's so personal to everyone. I've worked with a performance coach and a therapist for years, and I feel like, again, my mental health is really, really strong. It's just, also understanding that things can be a season. And I think the biggest thing, and this is what put me in a tough position, I felt guilt and shame for feeling a certain way and going through a rough spot. And I wanted to just expedite the process and, get through it. And I felt if I talked to my family or my girlfriend at the time and things like that, I almost felt like I was just complaining and, annoying them, when in reality, I was just expressing where I was at. And, that, in my opinion, shame and guilt, they're a lot heavier than a lot of things,
It's good that you said that, because I was about to ask that question. When we said shame and guilt towards whom? Because are we afraid that people will judge us and see us differently?
Yeah.
Is it because of like you said, you took care of your family, you have a position where people rely on you, and you don't want to be that honest with yourself because you don't want to make them feel as if you're failing.
Yeah.
If you fail, in a sense, you feel it's your responsibility that they will fail as well, because they will crumble. I mean, I've had an opportunity to be in a relationship where I would say at the time, I no longer want to be in this relationship, but I feel like if I leave this relationship, then the person will not be seen, heard, or and so much more. And at a given time, you have to be like, no, that's not your call, though. It's not. That's not my responsibility, you know. And so when I hear you say about shame and guilt, I had an opportunity to speak to another young lady, and she was stating that, but everyone knows this about me, and if this comes out, then they would judge me and so forth. So the fear and is what's the word I'm looking for? Is it worth it? Is your peace or your sanity worth it more than what people would say, or just taking on an unhappy situation? Where do we draw the line?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you have to get really comfortable with yourself and your fears and your faults. I know that even just sitting here on this podcast saying this, like, this is liberating. This is letting go of things. And at first and foremost, I could sit down and say, and this is important to me, I know this is going to help someone else who hears this. But at the very first moment, it's helping me and, helping heal my soul. And it's giving up control on who and how they hear it. And that's like such a beautiful thing. And I think really specifically for a lot of young folks out there, a lot of men out there, we hold on to this idea of masculinity and what we need to do and how we need to take on all these things for our family, our relationship. And the reality is, in my opinion, the strongest people are the ones who are in touch with their emotions, who are vulnerable, who can say, I need help. Because it takes a village in everything we do. People talk about DIY. You don't DIY life.
No.
It's a village, and that's something that I encourage, and do it authentically. Do it truthfully, and that takes practice. It takes time. It's a continual work in progress, but that's okay.
You know what I admire about you? And when we got the chance to speak for the first time and we exchange, many people, especially men, don't open up that often. And when they do open up, I said it the last time on my podcast, and my crew here was like, I was like, men actually deals with things by stages. They open this box. What's in this box? We talk about it. We close this box back. We attack another box. They're not going to mix everything.
Yeah.
And have a men that open up and be like, you know what? Hey, I actually need help as well. You need to hear me speak. I need to vent. I need to let it out. Not much people does that. And then I hear you when you said just now, you spoke about being followed by a therapist. Therapy, seeing a psychologist and so forth, is like a taboo conversation. And I'm gonna point my finger on me first. I often at first would be like, people are talking about going to see a psychologist, and I'm just imagining laying on a chair and I'm here and meditating and so forth. And I myself was not making fun of it, but I was not seeing the end result of it.
Yeah.
But no one wants to have that conversation, because when you say you're seeing a psychologist, oh, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's crazy.
There's a stigma
how do you
around it.
avoid that taboo conversation? And what would be the best advice? Like, don't be ashamed. That is something that needed, and that is something that helped you as well.
Yeah, it's a very taboo conversation. I've had numerous relationships where, the individuals definitely had mental health issues, struggled with very traumatic things that I don't believe they ever fully dealt with, but they were terrified of therapy because they thought, for whatever reason, I can't fully speak on those things. For me, there's certain things in my relationships, in business, in my partnerships that even if I want to say, I can't say it all, right? Because someone will look at, even if they're truthful, someone will look at me a little bit differently, right? Like, that's not my patient. I don't think therapy is anything to be ashamed of. But the trust is a major thing, because when you get good guidance and consistent and honest, it's just like a relationship, right? Then you trust it. But most people are really afraid to open up to someone who's not really in their life all the time, especially initially. But I'd say therapy for me, and I don't do it all the time, but I've learned so much, and it's to get an honest look at myself. My performance coach is like, he explains it like this, look at yourself. He'll tell me to look at myself. And I'm like, I can't look at myself. Yeah. And he's like, I can see, every crease on your face. I can see your ears. I can see your eyes. I can see everything about you. And he's like, that's what therapy is. It's a resource to shortcut the struggle or just get an honest opinion and look at your life. And once I kind of took that perspective, that was the greatest thing for me.
Yeah. No, it's so important. And again, we speak a lot about looking at yourself, tapping into yourself, be conscious of yourself. And that is something I say, before wanting to do more, before wanting to do anything, a stronger you, a better you is actually better for everyone, because then if you're going to be in a mix,
it all rises.
Elevating, trying to rise everyone up and so forth, you have that work you need to do. And I believe a lot of us try to beat around it, and it's not that simple, it's not that easy, and it's even not advised at all. So before starting this platform, for years I wanted to do this. I would write quotes all the time. And sincerity and being honest is something that is necessary. I could not have started this platform without me having truthful conversation, even with myself, like speaking about, I went to, I think it was in Milan. I was in Milan, and I found myself in my room alone. I went on a 14-day trip alone to Italy. And I just found myself in the shower and tears was just running down and run. I was like, what's going on? Because for you to get value to cry, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I also know I wouldn't run from tapping into what I'm feeling at all. I will go because I want to know where's this coming from. And when I said tears ran down, like, it's like, what is it? And I'm trying to figure out in what state of mind it is. And all of that to say that for me to do this, I had to be and still have to be honest with myself. So in that time is when I realized I was like, I don't have a great relationship with my dad. Don't. And I'm in that shower and I was like, well, why the hell am I thinking about this guy? What am I thinking about this man? You know, it's he's my dad. We speak hello, see you, bye. I don't see you anymore. And then you realize how it affected you that much, that you ask yourself, but then what did you do for you not to have this relationship with your father? And he was like, you know, I'm supposed to be the kid.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the adult. And all of that to say that as much as we believe that we are fine, as much as we believe that everything is okay, certain things in our life are patterns from traumas and so forth that we have not regulated. So I'm talking to you about this. This was on my journey to my 40 days to my 40th birthday, where I allow myself to don't miss a sunset, don't miss a sunrise, and just sit in my peace so I can hear myself. And that's scary. And at that time, that's one of the things among many that showed up. And I was just, it was heavy. It was heavy to actually deal with that. But coming out of it, it's still not over. I was like, you know what? Then you know you have an exercise to do because that is something that is sitting in your life that you have not dealt with.
Yeah.
So again, when I saw one of the podcasts that you did as well, and speaking about it, I tell everyone over and over, depression have no face, no color, no race, no whatever it may be. And having the opportunity to express yourself, people like yourself, myself, and many of us that have the opportunity, and people listen to have an opportunity to address persons and address a room, or even surprisingly have people that follows us. I think it's important that we be sincere as well. We be honest, we be authentic, because sugarcoating thing is not helping anyone.
Yeah, it's not. And, you know, I think for me, I always want to know what I'm working with. I feel like I can, once I know that, or if I identify an emotion or a feeling, and, you know, it's honest, and I like, at least then I have a path forward. And sometimes that's taking some steps back and really diving in and getting dirty and working on some things and being really honest with yourself. But again, I always say, like, when you're inside the jar, you can't see the label. And, you know, people, you know, having the peace of mind, some stillness, having a resource, whether that's a therapist or, you know, whatever it is, it's unique for everyone, but it at least gives you the opportunity to see the label. And when you can do that, like, then you know what you're working with, and you can find a path forward, even if it seems a little dark, or, you know, it's like going to be difficult.
Definitely. And the importance of having a proper support group.
Oh, it's everything. And I've been so blessed because my family, truly, when I say I had a rare level of unconditional love, my dad made a lot of mistakes, but I knew about all of them. You know, my mom was very open with us kids, but they've always been there, never a time. And you know, I do have an amazing support system. I have some of the most amazing friends and people in my life, even though, you know, I went through a dark spot. And I realized also that I was giving my time to people who didn't deserve it, or who couldn't see the value, or who flat out just didn't operate the same way I did. And it weeded itself out, but I let go of so many things this year and accepted it. And the biggest compliment that I've gotten in a long time was, I was with one of my friends, this was in October, and he's like, bro, I've known you since January, and, you know, since you let go of some things at the end of the summer and you really shift your focus, I've never seen you with more light, more energy. I watch how people are affected by you, and even the way you walk in a room. And he's like, it's just been such a pleasure to watch, because I've seen you in your dark moments at the beginning, and you're a completely different person.
Yeah. Today, with all of that experience that you have, and again, what I love about it is that you're still saying that you're still learning, you're still growing. And as you continue, all the signs, everything that you've been going through and still fighting through and so forth, today, if you have to advise anyone or key steps that they should take into first of all, tapping into themselves and moving forward, what would that be?
I think one of the easiest things is asking yourself what makes me happy in the simplest form, and then give yourself the space and the time to really just sit in that. I move around a lot. I took 70 flights last year. I like to be on go, but sometimes it's so much so that I'm just burying stuff and putting it in the back of my mind. But, you know, and I would say your closest friend, someone who's going to be honest with you, or it could be a family member, really ask them, you know, where could I be better in my life? What are things that you're seeing from me that, you know, I probably wouldn't be proud of that I'm missing? And don't take it personal, just take in the information. And then lastly, surround yourself with people who simply will nurture you and just pour into you. And when you're in a different mind state, especially when you're not in fight or flight, you can see things so much more clearly. And that's the simplest way. And then from there, you just keep trying to tap in and be in tune with yourself. But take like a saying I like is like, take your time or someone else will. And by saying that, it's not just being patient. No. You have to value and respect your time so dearly, because if you're not valuing it, you're giving it away for free. So that's what I mean by like, take your time or someone else will. And you're literally openly just like not valuing it and throwing it away. And that's been the biggest thing for me. And I think that can help some people, hopefully.
So my final question this evening, and things move so fast when we're actually conversating. At this stage of your life, if you were to dare to evolve something, something that you're doing or some part of your life, what would you dare to evolve?
I'm going to evolve the consistency and letting my light shine, and knowing that the more I pour into myself, the better everyone around me will be. I feel like when we are involved with so many things and teams, we want to make sure that, especially when we can handle things, or if you can handle things and move at a high level and have great resilience, you're trying to make so many people comfortable with your energy, your focus, your, you know, whatever it is, right? But really, a lot of times what we're doing is we're bringing ourselves down to a level that we're not meant to resonate at, and we haven't for a long time. And it becomes like a very dangerous space for us. So again, for me, I know I need to pour into myself, using my voice and saying the things I want to say and not overthinking it, and giving myself the time and the space to just follow my passions and my dreams.
Giving yourself grace.
Grace. Yeah, grace is major.
As we can come to the end of this other wonderful episode of Dare to Evolve, my takeaway from you, Dale, today is actually investing in self. Investing in self and understanding the importance of self-love, self-care. And of course, at the end of the day, all of that only resonate down the line of being a better version of yourself. A better you is definitely a stronger you. Thank you again for being here with me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thank you very much. And we're out.